What's up, Liron here, and today using this cute little painting I'm gonna show you how to create a gradated wash. It's a fairly basic beginner technique, but it has a lot of nuances in it, and I find that I at least learn things in circles. So I'm going back to the basic techniques and then I pick up on new nuances, new ideas on how to use them and so on. So even if you know how to do that, hopefully by tuning in you will learn maybe a thing or two you haven't thought about in a while, or just something that's completely new to you. I will mention a very important aspect of it is putting the paper at an angle. So not painting flat, at an angle. You need gravity's help to help the paint and water go down. You also want to create a strong bead. I'm going to show you how to do that, so let's get started. Okay, so this is again relatively simple, but you do have to practice the technique. So let me show you in my reference photo is something, and I will share with you. It's actually a photo I took, and you can see I'm going to start with kind of a mid value, and then I'm going to shift it and play around with it, make it darker, make it lighter, in accordance to what I see. So I just put in the paint. Now you need a lot of water. Notice the movement here, a lot of water. That's one of the biggest mistakes people make. They don't use enough water. And sometimes I'll even charge it with water, like you can see here. And then I'm just continuing to move the wash along while making sure that I have a bead. Okay, this line of water has a bead. Now, I have the mix here, and the darker I want it to get, I'll add more paint. And you have to practice this a lot until you get a really good grasp of how this translates to the way it looks on paper. Okay, because it can be very misleading. Some paints look different. You have to really practice almost seeing what the paint's gonna look like in the final form, even though right now it's not the final form. Okay, so it is a skill. It's not as easy as it appears. So now what I want to do is to start lightening it up. So I'm just coming back with some more diluted mixture. I don't mind about these sparkles, okay, but you can be more careful than I am. And notice I'm just moving with the bead, okay. And this is a beautiful kind of boat scene. So it's a good way of showing you how I do this. Now, what's really cool about this way of doing things, and you have to have again the paper at an angle to get the water to flow down. What's really cool is that you have more time to work on highlights. So here I can start leaving some highlights and really taking my time with it. And I would never have been able to do that unless I had this at an angle. Now, you don't have to leave highlights, but if you have highlights that you need to leave, then that's a possibility with this way of doing things. So that's really fine. It gives you just more time to respond, to react. Now, notice what kind of a beautiful effect we got of the sky. It's a bit gloomy up top, then a little lighter, so maybe light shining through the clouds. And notice how I don't get any unevenness in my wash. And that's purely thanks to the fact that I'm working at an angle, I'm using enough water, I'm working fast. Okay, I'm not taking my time too much. That's really important as well. You have to always be aware of your edges and not take your time too much here. I'm gonna fill in this area and then maybe just skip the seating places. I don't know what you'd call these, but I'm just moving on here and doing this. And you can continue doing this in the next wash, in the wash that comes afterwards. You can continue doing this kind of a method all throughout the painting. Now let's just get a bit of paint and darken here. Let's just start putting in something here. I don't know, just to get this layer to be a little more interesting. And the bigger you work, the more important this technique becomes. This is really important to emphasize. The bigger, the larger size you work, the more important it is to be able to do this. Why? Because you have a lot to deal with. The wash is really big. And if you don't have a tactic to help you move the paint downwards efficiently, you will get some dry edges, you will get a lot of background, you'll get a lot of cauliflowers, all of those things that, you know, it's not the end of the world, but if you can avoid it, then it's probably better. Like if I'm gonna accidentally touch here, it's gonna create some cauliflower, so I have to be careful. But in any case, now you can see the final result. Hopefully you can see it in the other angle as well. I'm gonna just lift it up to the top camera so you can better see. Here it is, very smooth, even nice. Got a bit of a background here, but it really doesn't matter. You can also move it around a bit just to get the paint to move in all directions and kind of dry more evenly. But in any case, this is a rather quick one. It's all I wanted to show you, how to do this gradated wash, change it up, make it darker, make it lighter. It's all here, it's all very simple. Have the paper at an angle, so not just straight flat, you have to have it at an angle. Help the paint move by using lots of water. Check out my palette. You see how much it flows? That's the number one mistake people make. Their palettes don't flow enough, especially in the first wash. You have to use more water. I talked about it in the recent video I did as well. Now, while we're at it, on second thought, I think I'll finalize this in a very direct, kind of quick way, very alla prima. So I'm just mixing a bit of a gray. I want that to be the background. We'll see how that works out. Don't necessarily have a serious plan for this one, just thought it would be a cool little demo. So that's a nice little gray, still at an angle that will help. And I'm just starting to fill in this area and kind of see what I can see from by squinting my eyes and maybe even simplifying everything to a great extent, really. And we'll try and finish this one in kind of a one layer approach. I haven't even added too many details to anything, really. Let's warm it up a bit. Make this boat a little more on the reddish side. And then what's important for me is I want to connect it immediately to the shadow. So let's grab a bit of green kind of thing here. I do want to add a bit of details here up top, and then here at the bottom add the kind of reflection, a bit of ripples and whatnot, just a bit of this kind of thing, and hopefully that makes sense, kind of like that. Now onto the boat that's closer to us, and that's really as simplified as you'll go. Maybe I'll just finish this section up from behind this boat, because there is a bit of something there, like that. The boat that's closest to us will use a bit of ultramarine instead of the phthalo we had all this time. And with this one we'll make sure to put in some more details. Not too much, but just enough to make it a little more interesting. And going into the dark shades of some phthalo and some green, and then neutralize it with some red. Neutralize and darken. And you see my brushwork isn't as accurate. My hands are a bit shaky actually, but still the result's gonna be interesting and good looking, I think. So here we go. Just a bit of those ripples going. Like that. Really, you have to practice the skill of making these randomly. It's not easy, surprisingly enough, to do a random pattern. It's much easier for our brain to paint something that's very, you know, very clear and even, and when it comes to patterns, it's actually a bit of more of a challenge. But in any case, I'm gonna put a bit of that dark paint here as well. I'm gonna keep the details inside the boat very few, like that. Hopefully that makes sense. Make the shadows slightly darker. Let's go a bit warmer this time. Like that. A little less paint. We'll make it a little lighter. Like this. It's not a very, it's kind of overcast scene, but so not such a strong highlight in sunlight in general. So I'm just kind of keeping a loose approach here. So that's one boat. Now onto the second boat. Now I want to distinct this one, so let's use a bit more of a red for this one, or a bit more of an orange, just to make it a little different than the rest here. So that's that. I want it to be a little more cadmium-ish, a little brighter red, so let's go for that. Here we go. Yeah, that's better. And this goes all the way up to the edge here. It connects to these details, and hopefully, yeah, this part dried. And we get to see everything, the inside of the boat as well. Now let's darken it up to have that shadow from underneath. As usual, a bit of a dark line here, a bit of a dark line here as well. And we can kind of close off this section. And hopefully that makes sense. Let's see here. Yep, looks good to me. Just a bit of shadows here and there, kind of touches. That's really everything we're gonna do for this one. Keep it very light. A shadow here and there. And then I'm just gonna put the masts. That's really a must here. If you really want to convey that this is a, you know, kind of marine-ish scene. And then there are a lot of ropes. I'm gonna switch to the thinnest brush I have, just for the ropes. Here we go. Whole slew of them here as well. And hopefully that makes sense as a scene. Okay, let's have another one here. And yeah, I think we're done for this one. So a gradated wash, and then showing you how to turn it into something more final, but still very simplistic. Hope you enjoyed this one, and now let's wrap it up. So thank you so much for watching this video. Here is a closer look at this cute little painting. I'm happy that I decided to finalize it as well and not just show you the first wash, because I think there were some added benefits, and you saw how this plays out even in the more advanced layers, and you need this. You need to have that mindset, especially when working on drier layers. You need everything that can help you. Putting the paper at an angle, using as much water as you can. Sometimes you have to use more paint to get it darker, obviously. But in any case, I hope you find this useful. Don't forget to give it a like and subscribe if you have, and let me know in a comment down below what else you want me to talk about. All of my topics are basically coming from you. If you need something, help with something, I'm happy to address it. So let me know, and I will talk to you again in another vid real soon.